Silence can be loud when it has nowhere to escape.
Cut.
In Clara's home, quiet didn't simply exist. It settled. It sank into the corners of the ceiling, clung to the backs of chairs, and lingered in the air long after the sun had set. Some evenings it felt so heavy that breathing through it required effort. Every now and then, Clara thought she heard movement, soft footsteps where the hallway bent toward the bedroom, or the faint echo of a voice humming a tune she once knew by heart. Each time her chest tightened before reality returned, cold and unmistakable.
Cut.
It had been nearly 2 years since Daniel passed away. The world outside her front door had kept going. Cars still passed. Neighbors still laughed.
Seasons still changed.
But inside that house, time felt paused like a song stopped mid-note. Clara had always believed herself to be strong. She had survived setbacks before, losses, disappointments, lonely stretches of life, but grief carved differently. It hollowed her out slowly, leaving her functional on the surface and fractured underneath. Friends told her healing wasn't linear. Therapists encouraged patience. She nodded, listened, tried. Yet each night ended the same way, alone, staring at the dark, feeling the absence beside her like a physical weight. The house they had chosen together now felt too large. One afternoon, standing at the window and watching the empty street below, a thought entered her mind, not fully formed, but persistent. Maybe I shouldn't be alone. Clara had never imagined herself as a pet owner. Daniel loved animals. She had tolerated them, but loneliness has a way of shifting boundaries. That same day, she searched for the local animal shelter. She didn't expect much. The shelter smelled like disinfectant and damp fur. Rows of kennels lined the walls, each one holding a different story. Eager eyes, nervous pacing, hopeful barks. Clara walked slowly, unsure of what she was looking for. Then she stopped out at the far end said a medium-sized dog with rough, uneven fur and an expression that
Didn't beg.
he didn't bark. He didn't jump. He simply watched her quiet, alert, and strangely focused. Their eyes met. The dog stepped forward and pressed his nose gently against the gate as if testing whether she was real. Something in her chest shifted. She signed the papers that afternoon. On the drive home, the dog sat calmly in the back seat, observing the world with steady curiosity. Clara glanced at him through the mirror more than once. "I guess you need a name," she said quietly. After a pause, she added, "Leo." The house felt different the moment they entered. Leo explored slowly, sniffing corners, pausing as if memorizing the space. His presence softened the emptiness, not erasing it, but interrupting it. That night, Clara hesitated before allowing him into the bedroom. She wasn't sure why she did, only that the idea of another silent night felt unbearable. Leo curled up at the foot of the bed, without protest for the first time in months. Clara slept without waking to the echo of memories. Days passed, then weeks. Leo became part of her rhythm. Morning walks, quiet afternoons, evenings spent reading while he rested nearby. He followed her without being needy, stayed close without demanding attention. She talked to him more than she realized about small things at first, the weather, the grocery store. Then deeper thoughts slipped out, memories of Daniel. Fears she hadn't voiced. Guilt she didn't fully understand. Leo listened. Sometimes Clara wondered if that was enough.
She
noticed things, too. How Leo always seemed to anticipate her movements. How he waited by the door minutes before she returned home. How his gaze lingered just a second longer than expected. It didn't frighten her. Do a tea first. One evening, she laughed for the first time in what felt like years. Leo's tail thumped against the floor, and something warm bloomed in her chest. "Maybe you were exactly what I needed," she said. But comfort can blur boundaries. Months passed. Clara realized how deeply she relied on Leo's presence. The idea of being without him stirred a quiet panic. She adjusted her schedule to avoid leaving him alone. She stopped inviting people over. The house felt safe again, but smaller. Subtle changes crept in. Leo no longer slept at the foot of the bed. He preferred the space beside it. Sometimes he woke her in the night, not with sound, but with stillness. She would open her eyes and sense him there, alert, watching the doorway, protective, she told herself. One night after returning home later than usual, Clara found Leo sitting in the living room, unmoving. He didn't rush to greet her. He didn't wag his tail. He simply stared. A strange chill traced her spine. "You okay?" she asked softly. Leo didn't respond, just stood and followed her into the kitchen, his steps perfectly matched to hers. Over the next few days, the feeling intensified. Leo was always nearby, always watching, not aggressive, not threatening, just attentive, too attentive. One early morning, Clara woke suddenly, unsure why. Moonlight spilled across the room. Leo sat upright near the bed, ears alert, eyes fixed on the door. "What is it?" she whispered. Nothing happened, but sleep didn't return. Clara began to question herself. Was this anxiety resurfacing? Was grief reshaping her perceptions? She scheduled a vet visit. The doctor smiled, assured her Leo was healthy, affectionate, well-adjusted. Some dogs bond deeply, the vet said, especially with owners who've been through trauma. That explanation should have comforted her. It didn't. That night, Clara sat on the couch, Leo resting at her feet. She placed a hand on his head, grounding herself in the warmth. "You're just a dog," she murmured. "And I'm just tired." Leo looked up at her, eyes steady and calm. The house was quiet again, but this time the silence felt like it was listening back. Clara didn't know whether healing had brought her peace or simply replaced one absence with another presence. She didn't fully understand. And for the first time since her grief began, she wondered whether being alone had ever truly been the most frightening thing. The next morning, Clara woke with the uneasy feeling that she hadn't slept at all. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and golden, yet her body felt heavy, as if she had been bracing herself through the night without realizing it. Leo lay near the bedroom door, already awake. When she moved, his ears twitched instantly. "You're alert today," she said, forcing a small smile. Leo stood and stretched, then walked toward her with calm precision, his tail low but relaxed. Nothing about him seemed outwardly wrong. And yet, the feeling from the night before lingered, like a thought she couldn't quite finish. Clara tried to return to routine. She made coffee. She opened the windows. She took Leo for his morning walk through the quiet neighborhood. Birds chirped. A jogger passed. Everything looked normal. Too normal. As the days went on, Clara noticed that Leo seemed to sense her moods before she did. When sadness crept in, he was already there. When anxiety tightened her chest, his presence closed the distance. It was comforting until it wasn't. She began to feel as though there was no space left for her own thoughts. One afternoon, she invited her sister Emma over. It was the first visitor the house had seen in months. Leo stayed close the entire time. He didn't growl. He didn't bark. He simply positioned himself between Clara and Emma, his body still his.